Hello friend, we come back to recap legends. Today I am going to explain a sci-fi movie named Lucy. Many times you must have heard that the common man uses only 4 to 10% of his brain. What if anyone starts using 100% of his brain? An attempt has been made to show in this movie, named Lucy. But before explaining the movie, I would like to request that if you have come to our channel for the first time, then definitely subscribe to our channel so that you can easily get the explanation video of each type of movie. So at the beginning of the film, we are shown a gorilla drinking water, and in this scene, we hear the voice of Lucy, the main character of this movie, in which she says that, "We got life billions of years ago, but what did we do with this life?" And with this voice, the scene of this movie shifts, and we are shown the modern era, where people have become busy with their work and are wandering here and there for their living. And in the meantime, we also get to see the main character of this movie, Lucy, who stands in front of a hotel with her boyfriend Richard. However, Lucy had met Richard only a few days before, due to which Lucy does not know anything about Richard's profession. Lucy is just talking to Richard when Richard gives her a suitcase and says, "You have to take this suitcase inside the hotel and give it to a man, and in return, you will $1,000. Now Lucy is surprised to listen that why would anyone pay too much money for just such a work? Surely this would be some wrongdoing, so she refuses to do this work and starts leaving from there. But then suddenly her boyfriend puts handcuffs in her hand and ties her to the suitcase. Now seeing this, Lucy gets very angry and asks to open that handcuff. But her boyfriend says that this handcuff will be opened only after going inside the hotel because its key is with a man who is inside the hotel and who has to deliver this suitcase to you. Now Lucy has no option, due to which she has to go inside the hotel and asks at the reception that I have to give this suitcase to a man whose name is Mr. Jang. That man makes a phone call to Mr. Jang, who shortly sends a group of men who were dressed in suits. Lucy is completely shocked to see that they shoot Richard as they come downstairs. On seeing this, Lucy gets very scared and starts crying. The people who were in suits catch her and take him to his boss, Mr. Jang, who was just coming after killing someone. Then Jang comes near to Lucy and gives Lucy a code and tells her to open the suitcase, but Lucy gets very scared and asks them if there is a bomb in it. Then Jang says that there is no bomb in it, so Lucy opens it in fear and we find 4 blue-colored packets in it. These packets contain a kind of intoxicant powder, or can be called a drug, which is very rare. After seeing this packet, Mr. Jang calls a man and asks him to take it, but as soon as he consumes that drug, he goes completely insane and starts sobbing. Seeing him doing this, Mr. Jang shoots him. Now seeing all this scene, the ground slips under Lucy's feet, and repeatedly tells Mr. Jang to leave her, but Jang asks her, "Will you work for me?" In response to this, Lucy says that she does not want to do all this work, but on hearing her answer, the men of Jang make him unconscious by hitting him on the forehead. After a while, when Lucy opens her eyes, she finds a cut on his stomach and thinks that they have taken out some organs from her body. Then after a man comes near to Lucy and says that we have not removed any part of your body, just a small packet has been kept in your stomach. Hearing this, Lucy asks what is in this packet. So he tells that it is CPH4, a kind of addictive drug, and you have to take this drug wherever we tell you. After this, 3 more people are brought there, who had the same cut on their stomach as the cut on Lucy's body, and the same drug was hidden in his stomach which was hidden in Lucy's stomach. And Mr. Jang says that if you guys do any trick or try to run away, then we will kill your family. And after this, he puts a black cloth on the faces of all 4 of them and they are taken to different places. After this, when Lucy removes the cloth from her face, she finds herself in a room bound by a chain and is horrified to see 2 men in front of her. Just then one of the 2 men approaches Lucy and tries to misbehave with her, but Lucy stops him from doing so. Because of Lucy's restraint, the man gets angry and starts to beat her badly on her stomach. Due to this, the packet kept in the stomach bursts. Now here the powder starts spreading like a bullet in her entire body. Her eyes turn completely blue and she even starts flying in the air. She was going completely crazy, and seeing this you can get an idea of how powerful the drug is. After this, we are shown 20% on the screen, which means Lucy has lost her mind due to this drug and she has started using 20% of her brain. Now the scene shifts from here and we see another character named Professor Norman, who was giving a lecture on the brain in a seminar and tells everyone that, ever since the world was created, only one person has used 13% of his brain, and that person is Albert Einstein. Apart from them, an average man can use only 4 to 10% of his brain, but in that 4%, humans have made a lot of inventions. Like going to the moon, landing on Mars, making an airplane, and many more. But if a person has used 20% of his brain, then he can learn to control his body, can control his heartbeat, and his blood circulation in his own way. But there is one animal that has used 20% of its brain, and that is the dolphin, and by using 20% of her brain, she can use it to talk to other dolphins through a process called telepathy. After listening to Professor Norman's speech, a man tells him that, what will happen if a man uses 100% of his brain? So the professor says that I do not even have the answer for this, but if someone does this then it will be very difficult to stop him. Now the scene shifts again toward Lucy, where she is sitting absolutely silent. Just then a goon comes to her and tries to misbehave with her. But this time Lucy kills him and takes his gun and kills all his men too, and after that, she eats a lot of food. Now seeing all this, we come to know that she is not the previous Lucy. She has become completely confident. All this was happening because of using 20% of her brain. After this, she goes straight to the hospital and asks the doctors to remove the drugs from her stomach. On this, the doctor tells Lucy that, you will have to be unconscious to get that packet out of her stomach, or else you will have to face very terrible pain. Listening to the doctor, Lucy says, you don't need to make me unconscious, just take out this packet because I don't feel pain. On being told by Lucy, the doctor removes the packet from her stomach without making her unconscious. Now after the completion of the operation, the doctor tells Lucy that we have removed this packet but your body has consumed half of it. Then Lucy asks how long will it take for me to recover completely. So the doctor asks him what is in this packet? So Lucy tells that it is a kind of drug named CPH4. The doctors are shocked to listen to that and says that, I had heard that they are making a synthetic version of it, but I don't know that those people have made it. Now after hearing all this, she asks what is this drug actually? Then doctors tell that, when a woman is pregnant, a very small amount of CPH4 is to be injected inside her, and it helps the baby grow inside the pregnant lady to build her brain and her bones. It gives a boost to the baby so that her body takes shape. But half the packet has been consumed by your body, and now I don't know what will happen to you now? I can't believe how you are still alive after taking this large amount of CPH4? Here Lucy's brain starts working faster and calls up her mom and tells her everything that her mom didn't even remember. She says, Mom, I remember when I was born. I also remember when I kicked your stomach. I can feel everything. I can feel gravity. I can feel the heat emanating from my body. I feel the rotation of the earth and I can feel the blood flowing in my veins. What is happening with me, Mom? Her mom gets shocked knowing all this. She doesn't even have any idea what is happening with Lucy. Here Lucy has used only 20% of the brain. If she has used 100%, then do not know what things she can do. You couldn't even get the idea. After this, Lucy comes out of the hospital and now she has also started seeing all the neuro cells of the trees, and how the trees draw water from the ground and take their nutrition, and his eyes were now acting like a microscope. Now after this Lucy goes to the same hotel from where the story has started, kills all the gang members of Jang, and after this, she goes straight to the Jang room, where he was massaging very comfortably. Lucy stabs his both with knife and asks him where is the rest of the packet? Where have you sent him? But Jang was able to say anything because he was in too much pain, and then Lucy uses her power again by touching his brain and starting to collect his memory. By doing this she became able to know that where he has sent the packet. In this, she sees that one packet has been sent to Berlin, the second packet to Paris, and the third packet to Rome. After taking the information, she leaves there by saying thank you to Jang. Now Jang was completely shaken after seeing what has happened to Lucy. Now from here, Lucy goes straight to her friend's house, and as she touches her, she comes to know what diseases are in her friend's body. After this, she starts reading all the research of Professor Samuel Norman on her computer. After reading about them, Lucy calls the professor and says, "I want to meet you, I have studied all your research." Hearing this, Professor Samuel Norman starts laughing because he himself did not remember how many thousand pages of notes he had written. But when Lucy tells him that you have written 6,000 pages so far, he becomes surprised. And then suddenly Lucy placed herself on the screen of the professor's television and start to tell everything which was happened to her, and even she also tells that now she is able to control all the electromagnetic things and start to control the professor's mobile radio. After this Lucy also tells that, "I do not understand what is happening to me. I don't feel pain and neither do I desire to. All the information that I have in my mind, whether it is quantum physics or cell nucleus, everything is going to explode in my mind. I don't know what to do with it." Now hearing all this, the professor says that, "I think you should pass all this information to me so that we can make a better future." Then Lucy tells him that she will meet you after 12 hours. After this Lucy goes to the airport and calls the police and informs them about the people who are going to other countries with those packets. And the officer who picks up her phone doesn't believe her words. Then Lucy sends photos of the three men to the policeman's computer, then that officer becomes convinced. Then he and his team capture the three men one by one. And after giving all the information to the police, she goes to take the flight. After boarding the flight, she takes a glass of wine, but as soon as she drinks that wine, the cells of her body break down and start flying in the air. Seeing that, it seemed like the body is now decomposing. Seeing her condition, Lucy locks herself in the washroom where her condition starts getting worse. In the end, Lucy eats half of the remaining drugs, and as soon as she eats, she became unconscious. After this, when her eyes open, she finds herself in the hospital, and her brain was now working at 50%. As soon as Lucy comes out of the hospital, all the policemen point guns at her and try to stop her, but she makes everyone unconscious without touching him, and the head officer became completely shocked to see this. Now Lucy asks about the remaining packets and tells him to take them. On the other hand, we see that the rest of the police who goes to a hospital with all three people so that the packets can be removed from them, but by then Mr. Jang's members come to the hospital so that they could sell those packets in another country. On the other hand, Lucy also decides to go to the hospital, where the packet of drugs has to be removed from the stomach of those three people. So she goes towards the hospital while driving her car with the policeman. Here in the hospital, Young's goons are about to leave the hospital with a packet of drugs, but seeing Lucy in the hospital, all of them pointed guns toward her. Seeing the goons of Jang in the hospital, she starts to blow the people of the gang in the air without touching them. Here we also came to know that she can control anything or anyone through her mind, because at that time her mind was working at 60%. After killing Young's goon, she takes all three packets of drugs and directly goes to the professor's lab. Upon reaching there, Lucy gives a lot of knowledge to everyone, but a doctor does not believe her words and says that, "If you can know everything, then prove it to me." Then Lucy puts her hand on his shoulder and tells him about the death of his daughter, which no one knew except him, and seeing this, everyone gets shocked. Further, she tells a lot of things about maths and science to the professor and his colleagues, in which she says that whatever maths equations you have been taught are wrong, and if you want to find out something in this world, then only time can do that work. She also tells that we have always learned that 1 + 1 is 2, but this is wrong. There are no numbers in actual and neither are there letters. We have created all this for our existence. Listening to her word, Professor asks that man is not a unit of maths and the world is not run by mathematics, so who runs it? So Lucy explains by giving an example that, suppose a car is moving on the road and if we keep increasing its speed, then a time will come that it will not exist. So timing is everything. That's why Lucy, sitting in the same place, transforms herself into a different mutant because she has gained control over the cells of her body. Seeing all this, all the people sitting there are surprised. But Lucy says that I have to increase more knowledge, so I have to consume all 3 packets. On the other hand, when Mr. Jang comes to know about this drug, he goes to the same research center where Lucy and the professor were present and starts to kill all the people who were present in that research center. Seeing this, the officer comes inside and says, "Lucy, you have to hurry. I can't handle Jang for a long time." As soon as the officer says this, Lucy tells the professor to put all the drugs inside it and at the same time, she also says that she will save her knowledge in a pen drive and hand it over to you, so that you will be able to tell the coming generation what we can do. As soon as all the drugs are injected into her body, her eyes start getting blue and a black substance starts coming out of her body and starts collecting all the data from it, so that she can store all that information in one place. And now the time comes when she uses 100% of her brain, and as soon as this happens, she started to travel time. Now she goes back thousands of years in time and first meets a tribal group. Then she goes further back in time and sees the dinosaur, after which she goes further back in time and meets the first human in this world who was a gorilla. It means after consuming all the drugs, Lucy had become so powerful that she could see past, present, and future simultaneously. But at the same time, we see that Mr. Jang kills everyone and comes to Lucy and points out the gun. As soon as he shoots Lucy, she disappears from there and this shows that Lucy got the power of invisibility. Then the policeman comes over there and kills Mr. Jang. After everything is over, Lucy gives a pendrive to the professor which contains all the information and knowledge. After giving the pendrive, the name Mark Lucy gets erased, and she disappears somewhere. But that officer doesn't understand what was happened here, so he asks Professor, "Where is Lucy?" Then Lucy's message comes on the police officer's phone, in which she says that, "I'm everywhere." And in the end, we listen to the same line that we hear at the beginning of the movie, that is, "We got life billions of years ago, what did we do with this life?" Thank you, and if you like our explanation then please subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.